Very warm welcome. We'll get to that recording in a second. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone attending tonight. My name is Kristen Bustamante, and I am the manager of the Home Child Care Program at the region of Waterloo. And I would like to welcome you to this presentation and also take the opportunity to introduce the other speakers on today's panel. Tonight, you'll be joined by Cheryl Faria. She is one of the supervisors with the Home Child Care Program. Amber Robertson, who will be moderating. Elaine Gardner, who's one of our home child care consultants, and Barb Cardo, Director of Children's Services. And before we begin, I'd like to just take a quick moment to do a land acknowledgement to honor the history of our First Nations community. Next slide. Waterloo region is part of the Haldimand Tract, which encompasses 6 miles on either side of the Grand River from the mouth near Dundalk to where it empties into Lake Erie at Port Maitland, also referred to as the One Dish, One Spoon Treaty Territory. The land is traditionally used by Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. The region remains committed to working together with First Nation, Métis, and Inuit communities on our path to truth and reconciliation. I am a settler on this land, and I acknowledge my own personal and professional responsibility to seek knowledge and unlearn and relearn the histories and experiences of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities, and reflect on the actions I can take toward reconciliation. And as I am learning, I am also committed to respecting and honoring Indigenous knowledge, wisdom, and culture. I'd also like to mention that it is currently Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak to anyone on this call that is observing this holiday. We're so happy that you are able to join us tonight. Thank you. Next slide. Thanks, Amber. So I'm just going to take a minute and go over the scope of today's meeting, which is really to discuss the region of Waterloo's licensed home childcare agency, as well as the impact of the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Plan on caregivers. At this moment, we don't have enough details to share with you on how that plan, how the discounts for parents will be administered or when. Further details about that will come from our local consolidated municipal services manager at the region of Waterloo at another date. And we are hoping that most of you in the audience tonight are current caregivers in our community or those looking to become caregivers. If you have a funny feeling that you may not be in quite the right information session, we will not take any offense if you need to leave this call. And just a few presentation logistics. This session is being recorded, as you heard at the beginning, and will be posted on our home childcare website within a week or two. We won't be able to see your camera or hear your voice during the presentation. You'll be able to see us, but we won't be able to see or hear you. The first half of this information session is a formal presentation, and then we look forward to answering your questions during the second half. If you have any questions as you're listening, please post them in the chat, which will be seen by the moderator, and she will read them out at the end, and we can get to all of those. At the end, we will also be posting our contact information in case we didn't quite get to your question or in case you think of a question later on. Next slide. I'd just like to start off by sharing a little bit about our program and the values that underpin what we do. The region of Waterloo Home Childcare Program views children as competent, capable of complex thinking, curious, and rich in potential. We strive to ensure all children receive quality childcare, which promotes healthy social, emotional, and physical development. We do this by assisting parents in choosing for care for their children in a supervised home environment that respects all cultures and family values. In supporting and endorsing positive and supportive learning environments in a home-based setting which fosters children's exploration, play, and inquiry. And on that first point, I'd really like to emphasize here just how much our program really values diversity in our community. It's a very diverse program, both in the caregivers that hold contracts and in our parents and children. This is something that we're very proud of and we know enriches the lives of children as they grow. A few other philosophies that underpin what we do. We encourage an active partnership between parents, caregivers, children, and our program through positive and responsive interactions. We identify children's individual needs and strengths and assist families in accessing community resources. We encourage children to interact and communicate in a positive way and support their ability to self-regulate. We offer resources and provide consultation to caregivers in child development, behavior guidance, nutrition, health, safety, and other child-related topics. Now, these are just actually a few of some of the values that our program is based on. We all know what an important time the early years are for the long-term outcomes of children, and we really look forward to working with each of our caregivers in providing the highest quality care for the children in our region. Next slide, please. Okay, so understanding licensed care, and I think this is something that there is a bit of misconception sometimes. So we're just going to take a few minutes to really talk about what is licensed care in home child care. Home child care agencies hold a license with the Ministry of Education. That's why it's called licensed. Individual home child care providers do not hold a license. Rather, they are contracted with a licensed agency. Contracting with a licensed agency is not a requirement under the new Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Plan. It is a choice that each provider can make. When a caregiver contracts with a licensed agency, they still run their own business. Caregivers decide their own availability, how many children to take on, and which children are a good fit for their business. In Waterloo Region, there are currently 2 licensed agencies. Each one of those operates a little bit differently. Hopefully today's session will answer some of your questions and help you decide if contracting with the Region of Waterloo's home child care program is right for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Plan, what is the impact on home childcare? What we know so far is that rebates for parents start on April 1st and are going to begin at 25% of fees. This will only be eligible for parents that attend a caregiver who holds a contract with a licensed agency. In December, that rebate is going to increase to 50% and will continue increasing until 2025, when parents will pay an average of $10 per day. Parent rebates will only be available for parents from the date that a caregiver signed a contract with a licensed agency. At this point, we don't know when the rebates for parents will start to be issued, but they will be retroactive to April 1st, or as I mentioned, when the caregiver begins contracting with a licensed agency. Next slide, please. So the benefits of contracting with a licensed agency. So here are some of the benefits. First, caregivers can care for up to 6 children. So it's currently 5 if you don't have a contract with a licensed agency. There's also wage enhancement top-up grants of $10 to $20 per day for eligible caregivers. Fees are collected from parents, paid directly to caregivers each month. Professional development opportunities are provided. There's a regular support of a registered early childhood educator and the ability to do the ECE apprenticeship program through Conestoga College. There are additional benefits like support from special needs resourcing, ability to care for a child receiving child care subsidy, among others. And I just wanted to touch on that point about the wage enhancement where it says a top-up grant of $10 to $20 per day. I just want you to know that by and large, virtually all caregivers in our program are eligible for the $20 per day. And I wanted you to know that so that when you're thinking about potential earning scenarios, you keep that in mind. We're gonna look at a few earning scenarios, different ones where we look at that how that $20 a day grant contributes to earnings. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about our rates that we pay our caregivers. And the first rate is is for 0 to 10 hours of care. This is our most common rate in home childcare. And these rates do not include before and after school. That's a different rate category, which we're going to talk about at the end of this section. Each home childcare agency sets their own rates for fees for service. So in our program for 0 to 10 hours, infants, which we consider 3 to 18 months, caregivers are paid $52 a day. For toddlers, which are considered 18 to 30 months, we compensate caregivers $46 a day. For preschoolers, which is 30 to 72 months, it's $44 a day. And for school agers, 72 months and up, that's 6 years old and up, it's $42 a day. Next slide, please. Oh, I wanted to mention too, as we're going along here, these rates aren't posted on our website at this moment. So this This webinar will be posted, and so you'll be able to view them in there, but you can also get in touch with our program and we'd be happy to send these rates to you if in case you didn't quite catch all of the rates. The next rate that we have is between 10 to 18 hours. And so for infants, caregivers, the rate is $59 a day. For toddlers, it's $57 a day. For preschoolers, it's $55 a day. And for school age, it's $53 a day. And again, these aren't the rates that parents pay. This is the rates that caregivers are compensated. Next slide, please. The third rate category that we have is for care between 18 to 23 hours, and that normally includes overnight care as well. So in that rate category, infants caregivers are compensated $80 a day for infants, $78 a day for toddlers, $76 a day for preschoolers, and $74 a day for those who are school age. And lastly, our before and after school rate, which is up to 5 hours of care. Caregivers are compensated $23 a day for those who are either preschool age, those that are old enough to attend school, or school age. Let's take a look at what some of those earning scenarios might be, depending on how many children you have in care. So here's the first one. Maria is a caregiver contracted with our agency and works from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. She cares for 5 children from Monday to Friday, 1 infant, 2 toddlers, and 2 preschoolers. Each week, she will earn $1,160 plus $100 in wage enhancements for a total of $1,260 per week. Earnings are paid monthly. And just as a reminder, the wage enhancement in this scenario is $20 a day. And so because it's 5 days of care a week, she would get $100 in wage enhancement. Let's look at another scenario here. Mohammed is a caregiver contracted with our agency. He cares for 3 preschoolers from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then 2 school-age children before and after school. He also cares for 8-year-old twins on Saturday that stay for 7 hours. Each week, he will earn $1,004 plus $120 in wage enhancements for a total of $124 per week. Earnings are paid monthly. And again, as a reminder that he will earn $120 in wage enhancements per week because he's working 6 days a week. He does Monday to Friday plus Saturday. Let's look at one more scenario here. This is Isabel, a caregiver that only wants to do part-time care for one family with 2 children. One child is an infant and the other is 3 years old, a preschooler. The children only come 3 days per week from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Each week, she will earn $288 plus $60 in wage enhancements for a total of $348 per week. Earnings are paid monthly. In order to become a caregiver with our program, it is required that you have a valid standard first aid, a recent vulnerable sector check, and this is for all adults in the home, and which also includes a renewal every 5 years. A family and children's services background check for all adults in the home. Valid home insurance, which stipulates home childcare business and $2 million in liability. Annual policy reviews, and follow all the policies and procedures set out by the Ministry of Education, Region of Waterloo, and Public Health. And a list of our more relevant policies are included on our website. This list of policies is from our local public health unit, and they include all the COVID-related policies as well. At this point in time, there are very few policies remaining related to COVID, but we must adjust to the requirements based on changing conditions. And in general, our COVID-related policies are the same as what are in place for the local public school boards. Next slide, please. So here's some examples of the policies that are set out by the Ministry of Education. All children must spend at least 2 hours outside every day in every season. Caregivers must follow Canada's food guide when serving food to children. Menus must be posted daily for parents to see in their entranceway. Caregivers must record the time that all children arrive and depart their home, as well as any illness and nap times. Caregivers must have sufficient toys and play materials for the ages of the children in their care, and the toys and equipment must be in good working order. Okay, getting started. The process to become a contracted to become contracted with our agency typically takes 4 to 8 weeks. And at this moment in time, we are obviously experiencing a higher volume of applicants, so it could take a little bit longer. Each potential caregiver partakes in an interview and initial house check. All of our policies must be reviewed and understood. Sometimes minor modifications must be made to the home, to the childcare environment, for example, adding a fence or minor repairs to the home for safety reasons. Successful candidates are provided with a $1,500 startup grant to buy any safety items, toys, and materials, and pay for first aid training and vulnerable sector checks. Our program statement and philosophy is reviewed. And I also just wanted to note that there may be a perception that caregivers that are licensed with their agency have big houses with big backyards, and that's what you need in order to become successful. But that actually isn't true. We have many caregivers that live in smaller houses or townhouses or apartment buildings. In our program, we really value the relationship that the caregiver builds with the child and their family. And we know that strong relationships can flourish in all types of living environments. Next slide, please. Lastly, I just wanted to talk very quickly about our new language and mentorship program. The Region of Waterloo Home Childcare Program has recently launched a new program aimed at contracting with qualified caregivers that have low levels of English. These caregivers are supported by interpreters. Families from the same language group are matched for ease of communication. If you or someone you know may benefit from this program, please connect with us. And lastly, just as we're going to take some questions, that kind of concludes the end of our formal presentation. But I just wanted to make sure that we all had the contact information for the home child care program in case you did have more questions or would like to apply with our program. So you can give us a call. Our phone number is listed there, or email homechildcare1@Region of Waterloo. You can post some of your questions as we talked about at the beginning, and we're happy to take those questions now. Like I said, if you can't think of your questions right now, you can always get in touch with us. On our website, there's also the home child care webpage. You can also click the subscribe button at the bottom. It's a blue banner where it says subscribe to this page, and you will be notified anytime we update that website. So as we learn more from the Ministry of Education about how the National Child Care Plan will roll out, we will be posting more updates, and you can check them out there as they apply to our program. So that's it from me. I'm going to now pass it over to Amber to see